kick is up, and it's good.
You're listening to The Extra Point, hosted by Phil Ruskin. Welcome.
Welcome in to another episode of The Extra Point. I am your host, as always, Phil Ruskin, joined by my guy, Kendall VanDerBilt. What up, brother?
Hey, man. Another day, another good, fun group of Dynasty rankings.
I know. It's you know what's fun is that since we've been doing this for literally a month now with 4 straight weeks in a row, it hasn't felt like a grind of trying to rank everybody because you didn't have to do all the positions all at once. It was like, okay, we did the quarterbacks, take a couple days, think about the wide receivers, think about and just kind of go through it. So, and now I just look back on my rankings and I'm like, great, it's already done. Now I just need to adjust. Now I just need to keep moving guys up and down as we get closer into draft season, which right around the corner, man, right around the corner. I know it's crazy, but I got to start with this. And this is the big question because it is the week. Who you got on Sunday?
I'm really into the Seahawks. I already was kind of in on them fantasy wise, right? But I love the organization from top down. I love a team that has in my opinion, stud running back backed up by an elite defense. And I think in many cases, a lot can go wrong and you can still win that game. And if a lot goes right, you're blowing people out. I think Drake Mays, I think they have their work cut out for them. If Seattle's offense is doing well, I think the Patriots are in trouble. But I'd like to see a bounce back from the Patriots offense, put up some points, make it a little more interesting.
Here's where I'm at. I'm obviously going to be cheering for the Patriots because I'm a Niners fan. So there is not a part of my body that will give any sort of support to the Sea Chickens. But I hope one of two things happens. I either hope it is a close game, and if Seattle wins, fine. I think they are a great team. To be fair, I did get to see them win week 1 in Seattle. Me and my buddies were up there, and bang, bang, Niners took home the win. But I just don't want a repeat of last year. Like, the game was over last year at halftime, and that was difficult. Even as a neutral, I'm just going to say it, and apologies to the Eagles fans and to the Chiefs fans. I wanted both teams to lose because it could not have been a worse Super Bowl, in my opinion, in terms of teams that you're just tired of. But it was 100-0 at halftime, and it was like, dude, this game's over. So I'm hoping for a competitive game and the Patriots to come out on top. Maybe Borregales, is that the kicker?
Yep.
Maybe Borregales becomes the new New England legend like Vinatieri and kicks a walk-off. And 17-13, maybe. I mean, it's not going to be that, but that'd be awesome. So,
look, the most exciting thing for sure is a running back wins the game, and it's a 50-plus yard rip for either Travion or Kenneth Walker. I think this could harken back to the Chiefs are crazy, but all of a sudden it became a running back battle. And what's his face? Mr. Fantasy himself in the playoffs. Was it Mostert at the time? No, for the Chiefs. It was before Pacheco. He lit him up for 2 touchdowns and 100. You know who I'm talking about.
Yes. My brain just went completely blank.
Yeah.
Yes.
Mine did the exact same thing, but I would love to see that. This has the potential to be running back games tend to be less fun in general, unless it's these two teams and these two running backs. I actually think that could be kind of an interesting game. So old school. We'll see.
Well, if you've been following along the last couple, Rasta is in the chat. Stop the show. There he is.
Hey, the Godfather himself, man.
If you've been following along the last couple of weeks, Kendall and I have been breaking down all of our way too early 2026 rankings by positions. If you want to check those shows out, that would be the quarterbacks, the running backs, and the wide receivers. We have been going through the top 24. Positional ones and twos. You can listen to those on YouTube, watch them on YouTube. You can also listen on Patreon and Spotify at The Extra Point. Make sure to like and follow the show. You can see the ticker on the bottom. Subscribe, hit that button for us. It does help us. Kendall and I are always available for questions. Hit us up on our DMs and Sleeper. And then, of course, we always have leagues. So if you're wanting to play with us and test your knowledge and come play with the Get Right Fantasy crew, hit us up and we'll see if we can't get you into league. We are going to finish our positional discussion tonight going through the tight ends, Sadly, there's probably not enough tight ends to talk about. So as promised, we will go through kind of that wide receiver 25 to 36 as well. So we're going to start at the top, Kendall. And I think this first tier, I can see your rankings, but I could have done this blindly. There's only 2 names. We have the exact same 2 names in the top tier. Why don't you just tell everybody who we both have, even though they already know?
Yeah. Tier 1, Bowers and McBride. If you want to have a little debate about which over which, I've got some takes. I've got some short and some long-term takes if you really want to split hairs. It's more of a conversation of, hey, I'm weak at tight end and I want to go big. It's a trade conversation, less than like a this guy versus that. But you're probably going after both. But if you might decide, hey, I'm willing to overpay for one and just pay market price for the other, it's probably coming down to personal opinion. But I'm curious. Do you got... you got them in the same order I do?
I have them in the same order you do. And I'll be honest, I sat with it for a little while today, not for too long, because obviously they were both in the same tier, but it was more about, like you said, splitting hairs. And for me, it actually came down to who's more impactful to his team today, because both quarterbacks have incredibly bad situations. We don't know who the quarterback is going to be in Arizona. For right now, it's Kyler, but we don't know that that's going to be the case for a certainty come September. We assume it's going to be Mendoza in Las Vegas. Again, could be a team that makes a huge trade or comes up, but the assumption is that the Raiders will hold at 1 and draft Mendoza, which means Bowers will be on his 3rd quarterback in 3 years. So, but we've seen Bowers be quarterback proof, and I love Genty. I love Genty, but there's no one else. Jacoby Myers is out of town. Devontae Adams is out of town. So there really isn't another target hog. There isn't a wide receiver here other than Bowers, whereas Marv, sure, he hasn't lived up to the 101. He hasn't lived up to the overall number 3 pick, but Marv is still a good player, and Marv is still going to get red zone looks, and I think Marv is still going to be a player who at times could take some touchdowns away from Trey McBride, whereas unless the Raiders need a lot. So to me, it's going to be Genty and Bowers in the red zone. And obviously, if you're passing anything over a couple of yards, to a screen, Bowers to me just has that little bit more upside when it comes to who can have the higher fantasy finish. Both players clearly can finish as the overall tight end 1, but I like Bowers just that 0.01 more than McBride when it comes to fantasy. That's just a teeny tiny bit more love for Bowers. So I don't think we need to spend time on that. If you don't have Bowers, if you don't have McBride on your team, as some of us do and a lot of us don't, fair enough. I want to get into these tier 2, tier 3, tier 4 guys, because at the end of the day, this is where players have questions. This is where fantasy managers have the ability to target and trade for someone, because I think you're right, Kendall. You're going to overpay for Bowers and McBride, and you're going to pay a hefty price. And as you and I have both said many times on this show, we are not huge fans of mortgaging everything, because if it doesn't go well, you really can set your fantasy team back, or your dynasty team back, a couple of years. So let's jump into your tier 2 guys and talk through, because I imagine we're going to have the same names in this tier as well.
Yeah, so I got 3 of them here in this mini, almost tier 1.5, but definitely a separator. Leading the pack, I got Colston Loveland. Very, very strong on him. Not just because I'm a homer. If anything, ask any Bears fans. We are historically consistently significantly lower on our beloved Bears in dynasty and redraft rankings, because we know better and we've been there before. But this is analytical plus Manalytics. I got Colston Loveland at 3, Tucker Kraft at 4, maybe a little spicy, and then Tyler Warren at 5.
So I have 3 of those names. I have one extra name in here. My tier 2 is Tucker Kraft at 3, Colston Loveland at 4, Tyler Warren at 6. I don't know if I've never experienced the pain, which is maybe why I have this player at 5. And it's a little bit of a homer, as you can see on my hat, but go Gators. It's Mr. Pitts. Here's where I'm at with Kyle Pitts, and this is who I want to talk about, because obviously he's on the post. He's one of the 2 players on the poster tonight. I do want to chat a little bit about Loveland, Kraft, and Warren, but again, we know that the youth and the upside, we understand how good they are, but Kyle Pitts has been a frustration, and I think that's putting it nicely.
Yeah. Yeah, he's a
He's been a
meme.
he's been a pain
Fantasy
in the
football rarely makes mainstream memes, but he's as close as we're
He's
going
as
to
close
get.
to one as he gets. So look, he finishes this season, if my memory's right, as the overall tight end 2 on the season. And I understand we would care a lot more about points per game than we do about where your final, numbers wind you up for the season. It doesn't always tell the true story. He did exactly what, if you remember this, Kendall, when we talked about him early in the season, I said he's going to score 5 touchdowns this year, because wouldn't it be great if his historical career numbers and his career arc for touchdown was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And in his 5th season, he scored 5. So put me down for 6 touchdowns for Kyle Pitts next year in year 6. Here's why I have him. Here's why I have him at tight end 5. I love Bijan. I love Drake London. I really don't see a third legitimate target earner in that offense. I like Mooney when he's healthy, but Mooney is a deep threat guy. He's not going to be a contested catch, red zone, end zone player. Certainly Drake London and Bijan will do that work, but I like the idea of Kevin Stefanski. Kevin Stefanski was the coach of the year. We have to remember that. I think, and he uses the tight end position. So I think there is a world where he finally recognizes what Pitts can give you. I'm not saying he's going to fade Drake London. I'm not saying Bijan's going away. But I think there is a possibility that Kyle Pitts has the coaching staff, the team around him, to give you another top 5 season. And in this position, we're not concerned with top 12 like we are at the wide receiver, running back, or quarterback position, because if you're not in the top 5, 6 through 12 doesn't really matter, right? It's more of a plug and play. Don't goose me, right? Don't goose me. Just give me something in my weekly points. So where are you at with Kyle Pitts? Because like I said, as much as I love him and I'm, from Gainesville and all this stuff, I have to take my bias aside and go, I don't want that experience, and I haven't. So where are you at with Pitts? Are you more of a believer? Or are you still, maybe you don't trust him because this was an outlier season? Where's your head at?
So with Kyle Pitts, I'm having to take multiple take pathways and just like average them out in my head, if that makes sense. Like range of outcomes, I think, are very likely just because I've seen it happen before and kind of play it out. So I agree with you. The head coaching change, I think, is a net positive. And I also think that quarterback play, especially when they're younger, just generally gets better because I think they get significantly better coaching at the NFL level compared to college. Sometimes it takes a little while for it to take, though. We saw that with our own Bears quarterback and Caleb, right? So I think that can happen with several players. And I think we even saw that with Kyle Pitts himself last year a little bit, just benefiting from, I think, coaching staff definitely trying to utilize him in a different way. So, I have him buried in my rankings a little bit, but like, I really believe he's basically tied for 6th. Tier 3 is very flat, very volatile for me.
Yep.
It's still an upside tier, right? Like when you get to tight end 9, which is where I have Kyle Pitts, that seems like a bad number. I mean, Ferguson used to hover around that range, but for me, it's really, I think tight end's deeper and better than ever, because I think in its younger, tight end used to be they never produce young. Look at our top 10 rankings and look at the age, right? And look how confident we are at through 9 through 10 with their ages, right? So I think it's a very different world that we're stepping into, specifically after last year's draft, which had a couple good tight ends, which doesn't typically happen every year. So I think it's one of the more richer landscapes. So don't take the number historically for what it is, but good coaching. I don't think for at least one more year the weapons change all that much for Kyle Pitts, so that feels good. I feel like the only thing that's probably going to get in the way of Kyle Pitts is the fact that that team may have an identity that is, we want to play pretty good defense, stay in games, lean on Bijan, and the overall passing volume is a let's limit mistakes from the quarterback position, and limiting mistakes and limiting bad games will actually help his growth. But I think that could correspond with a poor showing for Pitts maybe in the first half because of low passing volume, and they'll kind of amp that up. I definitely see maybe a tale of 2 halves next year for Kyle Pitts. It's difficult to rank that in Dynasty. I feel like a lot of times it's play in short windows with tight end because offenses can change massively, and they can take pretty big swings up and down the board, mostly down, unfortunately. So I'm hesitant with Kyle Pitts because it took a lot for him to get to where he is. Okay. And I'm still playing with the same fact that I don't think he will spark up in rankings and production correlating with maybe how the narrative is supposed to. I think he'll take the new coaching a little bit slower. And so I like him. I can't quite get him up into what I might call that tier 2 range as you. But, make no mistake, I have him above Kincaid. I have him above Kittle, right? So I'm not fully burying him. I do like him. I like him in that mix of guys. I like him more than Laporta, even though I have him ranked below in terms of I want to play for upside. And he does have an elite window of upside where he could crack tier 2 in a way that I don't think the rest of his tier can.
Yeah, I mean, I first of all, I love what you said about a tale of two halves because I couldn't agree more. We said that last week when we were talking about Drake London, right? We said, who's the quarterback going to be? They just cut Kirk Cousins. The expectation is that Penix is not going to be ready. Like, hear me out for 10 seconds. Aaron Rodgers. Does Aaron Rodgers really want to go play with Mike McCarthy? I don't know. Does anybody want to play for Mike McCarthy? Probably not. But like,
could see Justin Fields too.
Yeah, so that's what I mean. But like, I think you brought up Anthony Richardson as like a potential, just like, hey, gadget guy. We just need you to like not throw the ball, and if you do, just like throw screen passes or like 5-yard out, 5-yard curl routes in the flat. But my point is that with Pitts, you're gonna have some of those struggles. New coaching staff, new inconsistent quarterback play until Penix is back. But here, you said that flat tier, right? I put Pitts in this tier 2 because I just feel like where this guy's in the names in tier 3, I would have had to put Pitts in his own tier. And I see the upside, I see the potential, and that's why I've got him in this tier 2. But like the guys in my tier 2, Colston Loveland, I think he's going to be at the top of this tier pretty soon. I think he's a guy, and Tucker Kraft, that could crack that tier 1, potentially tier 1.5 that you called it. Mm-hmm. But like, who's a quarterback for the Colts? I've got Tyler Warren at 6. We love the upside, but like, is it Daniel Jones?
So we put him at 6 for the exact same reason.
It's a carbon copy discussion. So I want to talk about Tucker Kraft for just a second because I don't think people are going to forget about him. But I do think there will be a handful of players that don't remember how incredible he was to start the season. And I want to ask you this question because I know we've got a lot of other names to get to. But if Tucker Kraft had finished this season on the same pace that he was at, do you put him in the Bowers McBride tier, or do you still have him as the number 1 guy? I know you had Loveland at 3, but I have Kraft at 3. Do you still have him as the top of this tier 2?
Yeah, he would still be top of tier 2.
Okay.
There's a unique, like tier 1 tight ends for me there's a specific category they have to be in or a specific characteristic, right? Yep. And that is the way they're used in the offense. You could say a lot of words and a lot of sentences here, but you know it when you see it. And they are the weapon in the entire overall offense in a game-changing way. And I think Kraft would be fantastic, but he shouldn't ever be that for the Packers based on how they're constructed for years. For him to be tier 1, the team would have to be fundamentally different. And I don't think that's the way the team is going to win games. I don't think.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with you. I don't think that's the way they're going to win games, but I still struggle with the Packers because who's their number 1 wide receiver? To me, it's Tucker Kraft. Like, Christian Watson is great when he's out there. He's not out there very often. Romeo Doubs is a best ball player. Matthew Golden, I think you and I both agreed he probably wasn't a first-round talent. He was probably the one guy that was probably a little bit easier to say, like, oh, maybe fade him a little bit in draft season. Like, he's a great second rounder, but even though he's a first-round talent, he gets pushed up the board and he's going at the back end of the 108 to 112, right?
Yeah, he's like a worse Jameson Williams. I can see him developing, but it's going to take a lot.
I can too, but like the Packers' identity has been get Josh Jacobs established, get high percentage throws for Jordan Love, and when you're in the red zone, if it's not going to Jacobs, where is Tucker Kraft? Tucker Kraft had 6 touchdowns in the first 8 games before he got injured. I think there's a very realistic world where he could have finished as the overall tight end 1 on that pace, given the fact that Jordan Love's receivers are. It's a roulette wheel of pick your guy this week, and if you hit, you're awesome, and if you don't, you might get goosed. So I really love Tucker Kraft. I think I just want to keep people who have their notes. I know we won't forget him because he's young. In a dynasty startup, you're going to want somebody like that. But it's not that you forgot about him, but just remember, go the opposite way. Remember how good he really was. And I think if you are on the clock, or you're, putting in a bid in a auction startup, you're going to be really happy with Tucker Kraft as your tight end one. So let's jump into tier 3, because this is where it gets interesting. I don't know what the words are here. Fun. It's just, here we go. Who you got, Kendall? Tier 3.
Tier 3, 4 names for me, 6 through 9. And I truly mean this. You can have them in any order. I really mean that right now. It's going to depend on a lot of offseason moves. Take by take, if we get into certain players, I'll kind of tell you what I'm thinking. This is so dynasty build dependent here, but I got Fannin somehow, because I hated him in college from the prospect. He was so productive, but I don't understand it. I got Fannin, then Sam Laporta, then Rondé Gadsden, and then Kyle Pitts right below him, but really all tied. Fannin, Laporta, Gadsden, Pitts.
I have 3 in tier 3. I have Laporta at 7, Jake Ferguson at 8, and Rondé Gadsden at 9. I want to go through all 3 of these names. I told you guys a couple minutes ago that I could have easily put Pitts in his own tier, kind of in between tier 2 and tier 3. I could also have put Pitts here. I do see the upside. I do think the talent is there. He's still young. He's on a contract. He's checking a lot of the boxes, minus the can you trust him box, but he's checking a lot of the boxes we look for in Dynasty. So I'm going to sit with him at 5 and be okay with it. I am having a hard time with Laporta right now, and it's very simple for me. I understand. I trust Dan Campbell. If Dan Campbell makes a hire, I believe that he knows what he is doing. I'm a West Coast guy. My team is in the NFC West. I watch a lot of Arizona Cardinals football. I am really having a hard time understanding. Maybe it was a culture fit. And that's the thing that I think is probably the real reason that you'll never hear said. I'm having a hard time understanding why Mike McDaniel is not the offensive coordinator of the Lions with the speed, with the ability to have big plays, with the number of weapons. It almost seemed too perfect, which is why I say I think it's a culture fit for why he didn't get that job.
Agreed. So him vaping next to kneecap, and I get it. It's going to send the wrong cultural message. Hopefully the owner of the whole organization just said, hey, this, from an organizational leadership standpoint, this is a misalignment.
And it's very possible, right? And I think there's a lot of things that we just don't know about that don't get reported, the behind the, on the golf course conversation, to use that phrase.
McDaniels ain't good in the cold weather too, man. That guy doesn't look right bundled up.
Him
in a puffy jacket ain't right, man.
I mean, the puffy jacket swallows him. Your kid needs to eat a sandwich. But at the end of the day, like, I'm struggling with, is it Drew Petzing? I don't remember, but it's the former Arizona, I'm struggling because Arizona's offense was so bad. And Arizona's got Trey McBride, right? They've got Marv. I understand they struggle at quarterback position and their running back room is sort of a mess. But like you went from Ben Johnson, which is a huge step down, to whoever was going to fill that role. Understood. But we're still excited about the Lions, right? Like, there is a very real – Monty's a free agent. There's a very real possibility that Gibbs is in the backfield alone. He won't completely be alone. Obviously, they'll sign someone if they let Monty go, but like probably not going to be signing the caliber of player that Monty is, which means Gibbs' snap percentage and share should go up. Gibbs could be the overall number 1 running back next year. Again, for the second out of third year. Amon-Ra, under contract, still the guy. Jamison Williams didn't break out. We already knew about Jamison Williams. He's already shown what he can do. So this was more of a establishment season than a breakout season. And I understand Laporta missed most of the season and the injury, but I think
lost a lot of close games too, to be real. If you look at the season, there was a lot of games that if 2 or 3 go the right way halfway through the season, different things.
That Jared Goff touchdown fumble, non-touchdown Steelers game was like, what the fuck, right? So, but here's where I'm at with Laporta. I hated the offense in Arizona. I have question marks as to what it's going to look like in Detroit. And at the end of the day, it's the same conversation that we had 2 seasons ago on our do not draft list. And we said, don't take Sam Laporta in the second round because he's not going to give you double-digit touchdowns. That's the only way he finishes as the overall tight end 1. Right? So it's like, where are the touchdowns coming? It's the same thing I used to say when I was coaching. There's only so many goals that can be scored in a game. I coached soccer, for those that didn't know. There's only many goals that can be scored in a game. There's only so many touchdowns that can be scored in a game. So if you're going to give Laporta touchdowns, that means Gibbs isn't scoring. That means Williams isn't scoring. That means Amon-Ra is not scoring.
It means Tesla is not scoring, which is
and yeah. So it's like I just struggle with Sam Laporta because at the end of the day,
I'm just moving Sam Laporta. He just convinced me.
We want volume, and the volume's not going to be there. There's just too many weapons, and he's not a Bowers. He's not a McBride. Those guys I understand that their situations are better in terms of volume, but they're better players, just flat out. They're just better tight ends than Sam Laporta is. So I'm not sitting here saying don't draft Sam Laporta. He's terrible. He's going to kill you. But I am saying I would take, and we'll get to him in a second, I would take Jake Ferguson over Sam Laporta. And we'll talk about him in just a second, and I'll explain why. But Kendall, where are you with Laporta, or did I just convince you to move on to talk about some other players?
I mean, I definitely just moved Laporta to the bottom of tier 3. Like, for sure that just happened. And I got to be honest, while we're talking live, part of me thinks, like, when you do rankings, I don't know if you feel this way, but every now and again, there's like a player where, like, I know I am calling, like, hey, I'm gonna be higher than the market for sure. Like, I think they're gonna make it in a way that's not analytical. It's analytical plus, right? Or I think they're gonna be worse even than anyone else expects. I'm fading Sam Laporta, so I find that I think I have to drop him basically tied with George Kittle, and I kind of want to put Kittle ahead of him at the top of tier 4. To be honest, I think Laporta drops out of tier 3 for me because the talent of Sam Laporta compared to the talent of some of the rookies that just came in, say a Terrence Ferguson, right? Mm-hmm. I love the opportunity. It just hasn't popped yet. Laporta walked into an opportunity where he could pop, but his overall prospect talent profile was quite good, but not great, right? So talent and opportunity, he had all the opportunity. When that gets taken away a little bit, it doesn't take away his talent, but I don't see a lot of reason to give him tremendous opportunities specifically with a lack of offensive identity at this point. And Isaac Tesla being the most, like, he's a touchdown cannon. He's a one of one in the NFL in a very unique way that affects Sam Laporta in an extremely unique, I haven't ranked a team this way type of way. But it's a real thing. And I think it's devastating to him because you know how much touchdowns affect the tight end position.
That's it. I mean,
it's so big. And with Tesla being, I think 43% of his targets, if I remember the stat correctly, were red zone. Literally half of his targets were red zone, and they scheme for him. So that takes all of his upside away. And tier 3 for me is still an upside group. I'm going to flip him with Kittle. Yeah, Laporta's a fade for me.
Yeah, you make a good point, right? Because if Tesla scores, that probably hurts Sam Laporta more than it hurts any of the other Lions. Because let's say on average, the Lions are scoring 3 to 3.5 touchdowns a game. Let's say Tesla gets the first one. More often than not, Gibbs is going to get one. Yep. And then you're either looking at, possibly a Laporta touchdown, sure, right? Another Gibbs rushing or potentially Gibbs receiving touchdown because those are both in the range of outcomes. The big bomb to JMO or a typical, scheme something up for Amon-Ra. And so to me, it's like, if Drake London scores a touchdown, that doesn't kill Kyle Pitts. It doesn't kill Bijan, right? It's not something that's going to just destroy your week, right? At the end of the day, there's really only 3 guys in Atlanta that can score. Truthfully, I mean, sure, you can have some outliers, Algier, Mooney, something could happen, right? But the majority of your play calls are going to go to London, Pitts, and Bijan. You've got extra players in Detroit. You've got an Isaac Tesla. Monty's was there this season. You know what I mean? So, like, there's just too many mouths to feed. At the end of the day, you also have to remember this: 10 touchdowns Sam Laporta's rookie season. JMO was hurt for a lot of that. Gibbs started out, Gibbs wasn't in the league. Laporta's a year older than Gibbs. Monty was the guy. It was Monty and Swift.
Yep.
Monty and Swift were there.
They came in separately, yeah.
Yeah, so that was a totally different dynamic, right? So enough about Sam Laporta. Again, I still think he's a good player. If I wound up with him on my team, I'm not going to be pissed. But I'm also, like you said, that upside it just doesn't seem like it's there right now the way that it once was. So let's come back on this player here, Jake Ferguson, because I just noticed your rankings and he is buried in your rankings. 16 in your rankings.
A wee bit.
Yeah.
If you
Well,
take it tier based, he could be as high as 13, but 13's pretty buried based on consent. I think ECR has him as a top 12. I think he's even top 10, possibly.
I have him at 8. So let's come back on that one because I want to talk about the other guy on our poster here this week, and it is Oronde Gadsden. Kendall, why don't you start us off since I just gave a lengthy Laporta take, but where I know it's exciting and the Chargers are going to be hot this year. They are going to be the hot team. Where are you at with Oronde Gadsden?
I'm looking in your show notes and I'm like, yeah, we're mind melding on this one too. We should do shows together. This makes a lot of sense.
Imagine that.
Yeah, it's a team take, not a player take. I mean, he's an undersized tight end, but he's undersized because he's a very athletic and he is a pass catching weapon. He was drafted to be such. I was high on Gadsden because when you look at his profile and where he went in the draft, which was more aggressive than I anticipated, it was to be some sort of a weapon. And I know Herbert. I've watched him enough. I've always been enthralled by Herbert and his deep ball. I tend to, there's just teams where, there's red zone, but you're also watching the game a little bit. Right. And I always watched a lot of Herbert and he just loves throwing to the tight end quite a bit. So I'm a fan of Gadsden, but this is a team take. I think they're going to lose. They're going to be the team. We always see this in the offseason where we're like, look at all the vacated targets. Yeah. Right. They're going to be one that's going to be a huge stat. And we talk about where it could go, lad to the moon. Is it all of a sudden that Hampton's going to have like Christian McCaffrey-esque targets? I think so. It's going to be up there. There's a lot of guys. I really like Trey Harris. When the coach's wife is talking about Trey Harris and talking him up and saying like, hey, no, he really likes him. Like that's a big deal, right? I forget where I read that. That was a real thing. So they're going to have some weapons, but they're going to lose quite a bit. And the nice thing is whether you have a ton of weapons or a few weapons, an athletic tight end that's known as a pass catcher is just valuable for a team role perspective and doesn't really share that from a snap share perspective. Like he's going to be on the field a ton. Yeah. And I think that's an offense thing because it's going to move the ball. So he's kind of like a Laporta in that I like the offense. I like the quarterback. I like everything around him. And we've already seen early success. He's 22 right now. He was 21 in season. So the ability to not make many mistakes, play meaningful snaps, catch meaningful touchdowns in meaningful games at that age is very predictive of a successful NFL career and heavy utilization in the offense the following year, and which is what you need at tight end. You need a role to elevate you, right? We want to get to Ferguson in a second. I don't like his role change. I like that Gadsden is going into a good role. I just think there's going to be a lot of mouths to feed. So again, I can't get him higher, but I really like him in the tier. And he's only 22, so a lot of room to grow. I feel like safe floor, volatile ceiling that he won't always hit. Sometimes he might just be a guy. He could play the Mark Andrews role in recent memory quite well, I would assume. So tempering super high-end expectations, but really like him as a productive piece of good offense.
So I'm with you. I'm going to take a little different take as to why I like him. I just gave a whole take on Laporta saying there's too many mouths to feed. And the same argument can be made in Los Angeles with the Chargers, right? Lads there. Huge was hot and cold, but he had a much, much better season. Trey Harris, yeah, a lot of touchdowns. Trey Harris, we like him, but we didn't see a lot this season. And what we saw was okay. It wasn't bad. He didn't get a lot of snap, and that's okay. We love Hampton, right? We know about Hampton. And Herbert runs a little bit more than everybody thinks that he really does. So that does take away some, those short yardage first downs for Gadsden. But here's why I like Gadsden regardless of all of that. I just said huge, hot and cold. Trey Harris, haven't seen enough yet. We've seen Hampton. We've seen Ladd. We've seen Gadsden. I want to give you a name, Kendall. Jonnu Smith. Jonnu Smith is atrocious. Nobody wants anything to do with Jonnu Smith, except for the fact that in 2024, when he was in Miami, he was the overall wide receiver 4 with Tyreek Hill, with Jalen Waddle, with Achane. Why is that relevant? Because Mike McDaniel's the play caller. He's going to use the tight end. He's going to establish the tight end, especially a pass-catching tight end. I believe what is the most likely outcome for Gadsden is that his touchdowns increase because he's a red zone weapon. There you go. There's Wascally Wabbits. He's a red zone weapon as I'm doing my Homer FUD. So I think that is the most likely outcome in a Mike McDaniel offense is they recognize that they finally have a big body because Ladd's not a big body. Cuge is good in the air, but like he's got drops. He's had his issues. We've been up and down and back and forth on the carousel with Cuge. So I think you're absolutely spot on with the age. He's a guy that you can establish possession. He can also go get up in the air and get some touchdowns. The Chargers are going to be hot because of McDaniel. They're going to be steamed up. Harbaugh, McDaniel, this offense. But the other thing you have to remember is this. What was Mike McDaniel's secret to success in Miami? It was an offense predicated on speed. The Chargers are not fast. They're not slow, but they're a possession team. Their big plays are, big bombs to Cuge. Right. Hopefully some big explosive runs from Hampton, but like they don't have a Tyreek Hill. They don't have it. I mean, Jalen Waddle and Achane are still some of the fastest guys in the league too. Don't forget about that. Like this is a different style that McDaniel's going to have. What do you do? What do good coaches do? They adapt to their players' strengths. Right. So I think that's what's going to happen this season. I think you'll see Gadsden be more in the red zone than he was this year. I think he has the opportunity to increase his touchdowns. I like him as a player. I think he had, obviously he had some huge weeks for you, especially that run. Where was it? Week six through week 9, 13 points, 29 points, 18 points. I mean, that's tight end one numbers. Yeah. And there's just not guys other than the
21-year-old rookie too, man.
There's just not guys that can stuff. Yeah, those guys can't give you, Sam Laporta is not going to give you that consistently for 4 straight weeks. So I think there are opportunities here for Gadsden to grow and to continue to elevate his game. And I realistically think he could be in that tier 2 next season if he continues to have a big upside and role in the offense and the touchdowns increase. So let's talk about Jake Ferguson because we are in the tight end position. This is about the only name that's drastically different. So I'll let you start because you said you didn't like the role let me rephrase. I think your words were you didn't see the role change in Dallas. So let's start there. Is that part of the reason why you have Ferg lower in your rankings?
Yeah. It's definitely with tight end. I play in a tighter window typically because I think the production can shift well outside of foreseeable changes, right? When tight end production spikes up or down, you don't always see it coming. So with Ferguson, I think it is a team usage standpoint. Usage? What happened there?
You Wascally Wabbited it too.
Yeah, it's we're gonna drink more wine, man. Drink and chill stream. Here we go. All right. Anti Fergie take, because we and you were the big Fergie guys, right? This is assuming that Pickens stays.
Yes.
I think it's at least 51% he stays. The metrics say most of the time teams re-sign. They don't always, but usually they do. I think they do in this case. It makes a lot of sense. Doesn't have to, but they tend to not let their guys that produce go. Jerry doesn't let guys that produce go. He doesn't watch the bad games. He only watches the good games. And he blames coaches for player failure, not the players. That's a very big, long take why I think he definitely stays. So with that in mind, they finally have a run game. It's a little bit different. I mean, they had it with Zeke, but it's a run game plus a very two-headed monster passing attack. And it's definitely they're not relying on Ferguson in the same way. They're not scheming him. With 2 elite weapons, I don't think Dak is really looking towards the tight end. It feels like he has something to prove. When the team is doing better, I think Ferguson does better. If they have a winning record, I think Dak can settle down and take the tight end looks. But I didn't see a lot of that. I saw a lot of, I want to throw the ball 20 yards. I want to find my stars. I want to get him involved. And I just saw Ferg not play bad, but shrivel up in terms of the team was reeling, man. They're just going for it. They're having to. And the tight end's just not that exciting. And I didn't have a coaching staff that was able to calm them down and start moving the chains in more of a subtle fashion. So as long as there's 2 A-tier wide receivers there and a running game that's getting better by the second, but in a way that just doesn't help the tight end, I just don't see how he's relevant outside of an above average touchdown, kind of place. I need Dallas's offense to be fantastic, and I need other people to do less good in the offense. And I don't see that happening. I think he regresses more towards the mean. The first half of last year was very good. Down the stretch, he fell off an absolute cliff. I mean, he didn't have 10 fantasy points from weeks 11 on, right? That's a problem, right? But what I'm saying is it's not a Ferg thing. That is very much a usage thing. He's still the same player. The offense went away from him, though, right? I think they'll go back to him a little bit. But I also think the days that the Dallas offense just always works too. I mean, Dak keeps being good. The offense keeps being good. I think I have reason to believe they're going to go up against some pretty good defenses in division pretty consistently. I don't think Dallas's offense and Dak is going to maintain this high level efficiency all the time. So Ferg needs a lot to go right for him to consistently stay good. And when I look past this season into future seasons, I just don't think it gets much better for him. Like, he could have a good season next year, but if you're telling me what does the 2027 look like for Ferg, I think he's probably got to start looking for a new team potentially, or it's his last Sun run in Dallas. I just kind of see him setting, and I liked Ferg, but I don't love the talent. He's not amazing at any one skill. He doesn't have elite size. He doesn't have elite speed, right? He doesn't have elite strength. So he needs a good scheme fit in order for him to be effective. Every guy we've talked about so far has an it factor. Gadsden's he's an athletic freak, and he's a mismatch. Look at his ADOT. The fact that he can get 20 yards down the field and still in a time frame that has a throwable, catchable ball, that's not something that I think Ferguson can do at that level. So for all the reasons above, he's a little bit of a master of none, and that's not a bad thing. He's very good. He's a very B guy in a lot of ways.
All right.
It's my best. Like,
no,
I like him. I try to capitulate. I like him, but I'm playing in a 3-year window with him too, and I like next year. I don't love it, and it gets worse from there.
I will save my take because he is my spoiler alert. He's in the 2-minute drill tonight.
Okay.
I'm not gonna tell you which side of the coin he's on, but don't look at the show doc and cheat. But he's in the 2-minute drill. So
are you spicy on him? Oh my god.
We had a question.
We got to disagree at some point. This is great.
If Pickens returns, what's the chance they let Ferg walk and just roll with Schoonmaker? They can't.
0.
He's under contract for 2 more years. So
yeah,
the Cowboys will have him in 25. They will have him in 26. They have an out in the contract going into 27. It's a $10 million dead cap in 27. It's only a $3 million dead cap in 25.
You got to carry a lot of tight ends.
So.
It's a physical position. And it's a lineman position. They get injured a lot.
To take your take in a 3-second synopsis, if you don't like Ferg and you can say that take, there ain't no way you're making a positive case for Schoonmaker. So I think at the end of the day, Ferg is the tight end 1 for the Cowboys, and that's what they're going to roll with. So I'm going to just bounce through these names really quickly, and then we're going to get into the wide receivers here. We will come back to the tight ends here at the 2-minute drill. I've got Harold Fannin at 10, Dalton Kincaid at 11, Brenton Strange at 12. I like Harold Fannin. I don't think Chief Njoku will be around forever, but he is there right now. He is a pain in the thorn in the side of Fannin. I think ECR Harold Fannin right now is at like 6 across Dynasty rankings, and I'm okay with that, but I don't think that's too rich for me because I don't trust Shedeur. And by the way, I don't want to talk about the Pro Bowl, but can we just remember this? Please remember this. If you are looking at Harold Fannin's outlook, Shedeur Sanders is not the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Deshaun Watson is. Everyone is just expecting Shedeur to be the quarterback. Do you understand how much money is still left on that contract for Deshaun Watson?
And he's just better. I hate Deshaun. Me and you both have daughters. That says enough.
We have personal issues with Deshaun
We're
Watson.
good there.
Yeah, moral issues. Yeah.
I hate that, like, when healthy, which is never, he is just an objectively better quarterback. There were days as a Bears fan, I'm like, yeah, we passed on him. We're fucking awful.
It is. I understand, my brain just went blank. Todd Monken having this great video on social media, blowing up Shedeur and, I love you, man. And I wanted to draft you and, and all this other stuff in Baltimore. It's like, or whatever, it's like, okay, great.
Yeah.
But what are you going to do? You're going to walk into the, the building as a head coach and be like, oh yeah, you fucking suck. Get out of here. Like, you're never going to say that. Like, I'm a coach. Like, that's literally that half of the job is to make sure the guys on the end of the bench stay happy, because at some point, the guys on the end of the bench go into the game. Shador went into the game, whether they wanted him to or not, and they tried darn hard not to get him in there because they put Dylan Gabriel in, for Lord's sake. My point is that Deshaun Watson is the starting quarterback. Nobody wants to accept that. And it's very likely they split time next year, because you're right, Watson can't stay healthy and he sucks and all this other crap, but Shador is not the starter. Dalton Kincaid is Dalton Kincaid, and Brenton Strange I like. There's some upside, but I think he goes as Trevor goes. So I don't want to spend a ton of time on those guys, because we did promise we'd buzz through a couple of these 25 to 36 wide receivers. Anything different there, Kendall? I think you probably have those. I know you have Harold Fannin at 6, so you have him a little higher than I do, but in that range, where are you at with your tier 4?
I do think I have a new addition to tier 4. I hate capitulating. I hate doing this, but I have kind of like a recent thought that, like, I just took peeked a look at Ferguson's exact age. If I'm being honest, I like doing these ranking shows with you because it forces you to get the anti-takes, and I have an addition to tier 4. So it's Kittle at the top at 10, Kincaid 11, Mason Taylor at 12. Big on him.
Wow.
I'm actually going to move Jake Ferguson up into the bottom of tier 4. I have to respect an overall range of outcomes that, what did I just say earlier? Tight ends are a little aberrant. It's sometimes hard to predict when they go up and down because it's unforeseen issues. I'm not giving him the positive case of unforeseen issues going up and down in his favor, and not in his favor last year, in his favor for the next couple of years. I don't like Dalton Schultz at 29, but at 27, I do think I need to give Ferguson a little bit more love. You have convinced me to put him in the bottom of tier 4. Kittle, Kincaid, Mason Taylor, Jake Ferguson, tier 4.
Yeah. Yeah, and look, I think we said it about 10 minutes ago. I'll just say it one more time. If you're not in the top 5, 6 through whatever, how many tight ends you roster, it's kind of all the same. The delta in terms of PPG and total points.
Dynasty ranking show, right? So
yeah, it's
different tiers of what are we doing here.
And the reality is almost every league, unless you've just eliminated the tight end position, you have to start one. And the truth is that most people have gone to a tight end premium league to make 6 through 12 more relevant, because otherwise it's Bowers, Laporta, McBride, guys that have finished a tight end 1 the last 3 years in a row.
Tight end flex of the week is
exactly. And if you don't have one of those guys, it's like, you're gonna get out of here. So I'm going to rapid fire these because we are doing this show in 60 minutes tonight. We're getting dialed in for the season this early. This is how it's happening. So last week we did our wide receivers 1 through 24, but there's a lot of names that could have made it that didn't. And so I want to start with this one. This is the big question. BTJ, Kendall, can he get back into the top 12 next year? Can he get back into the top 10? Or did we see his rookie season as a statistical best season of his career?
He can, because his talent from the college, sure, things happen in the NFL, but he was already more talented than most of the wide receivers coming out this year. He was that good. I just straight up, he was that good in college. Things happened. I don't think he gets back in the top 12. When you're that talented, anything can happen. Any injuries can happen. It's extremely unlikely. I think it's incredibly likely he finishes as a top 24. I think it's incredibly likely he still finishes top 18. I have him at like 20 or 21, I think. But I see him as a top 24, absolutely not a top 12. The offensive makeup is very opposed to that.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting with Jacoby Myers, because we talked about this. Does that mean that Travis Hunter goes to the other side of the ball full time? And the answer seems to be no right now. They're coming out and saying that they still plan to have Travis Hunter play both ways and still play as a receiver. So I question if BTJ can get back into the top 12. I think I'm with you. I think he's in that 16 to 18, 16 to 20 range. So Luther Burden, have we seen enough the second half of this year to safely predict his year 2 breakout? We love year 2 breakout candidates for wide receivers. Did we see enough the second half of this year to predict that?
Yeah, one of the easiest yeses you're ever going to see. If he doesn't make it, we're taking bets. Analytics aren't perfect year to year, but overarching principles tend to when we're wrong, we can say, hey, look why it was wrong. This and this happened. Luther Bird, he earns targets, doesn't just get them fed to him. And his yards per target are phenomenal, and his success rate against man in zone is pretty fantastic. So he's an analytic phenom. He was since high school, probably since grade school, to be honest. And it's just built in here. We're good to go. He maybe faced some resistance from a too many mouths, and we were like the number one rushing attack in the NFL for a little bit there. So, that's the only thing that's in his way, and I still think he overcomes that.
I sent after Luther Burden's big game. I think it was week 4 or 5 when he had the big game.
The early one where he went back to the shadows for a little bit.
I sent 2 trade offers. Well, I sent a lot of trade offers, but I sent 2 that I realistically thought I could get done with 2 guys.
Threw out a second.
Yeah, I had Burden, and I also have Rome on that roster, and so I was like, I just don't want to have to deal with the 2 Bears each week situation, and so I sent a couple of Burden offers out, trying to get a second back in, both of which were turned down, and I'm very happy they were.
Yep.
Because what they would have turned out to be is late seconds. And I believe that the end of next season, you're going to see Luther Burden going in redraft, probably in the early double digits, late single digits, pending camp news. And I think he could be a steal in that range. And I think in dynasty startups, I think he's going to go in that wide receiver exactly where we have him right now, 27, 28, 29, 30 range, and that's probably where he belongs. So Jaden Higgins, I think we probably would both agree the year 2 breakout is not assured. Injuries happen, all the things that could happen, right? But I think presuming health, hopefully some better offensive line, I think we believe in Jaden Higgins having a really big year 2. My question isn't that. My question is this. Do you think he has the ability to finish in the top 24? Is he a wide receiver 2? Or is he still on that fringe of where we have him in this discussion, 25 to 36, wide receiver 3?
He's got the talent situation to do it. This is really, it's not up to him. It's not his call. Whether he makes wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3, Jaden Higgins will have nothing to do with it, right? So that's why it's hard to predict. We're not talking about Jaden Higgins. We're talking about the offensive ecosystem.
Yep.
We're talking about what the hell does Woody Marks do? Because he functioned like a Nick Chubb, but he's supposed to be a pass-catching specialist, so I don't really understand the usage there. The O-line's bad, and Stroud is becoming a meme on fantasy football circles. I don't believe it's true, right? But it's more up to Stroud and the O-line and how they use the they use the running back position, sorry. It's not up to Higgins. So it's hard to give you a Higgins take. All the talent in the world to get there. Sounds like the coaching staff wants him to get there because, dude, as an offensive schemer, I think when you're like, dude, my quarterback's got turnover issues, and the number 1 corner on some teams is just gonna hurt you when you're, Nico might be open, but I don't know if their ball's going. Higgins is such a nightmare mismatch that it just feels like when he gets in the end zone, it's like it's such an easy toss for the quarterback. It just feels like he's going to become a really, really great wide receiver 2 for the team, but one of those like T. Higgins wide receiver 2s that yeah, they're nice though, and they are the offense half the time, right? How many games is Chase getting targeted, but T. Higgins kind of takes the cake with the touchdowns and the big stuff and the 50-50 mosses? Higgins is a poor man's version of that, and that's a great place to be at his age. So I'm leaning more towards low-end wide receiver 2 outcomes, but that offense probably needs to develop some consistency, which probably needs getting the running game involved a little bit more. So I'd say year 2, more like wide receiver 3, post-hype sleeper, huge breakout when Nico starts fading a little bit down the line, because I think Higgins could take over the Nico role, or Nico could become the X that's less targeted, the DK Metcalf to the over-targeted Higgins, and that's what I want to bet on long-term.
Let me give you my spicy take.
Please
Jaden Higgins, wide receiver 14 next year.
This is a take I can get behind. 14,
wide receiver 14
feels incredibly spicy to me, but I want to get in the flames. I told everyone, like, I like T. Higgins. I like Jaden Higgins.
Yeah.
Good comp, though.
Yeah.
But Phil, like, loves Jaden Higgins in a way that I understand, but I can't get to. And I think you deserve every bit of the victory lap on the Jaden Higgins. Like,
Yeah, cheers.
Sell your late firsts for like multiple early seconds. We said so. We said like the Burdens Higgins. Like it feels good to be right on that range. It just took a long time, but we're getting there.
We're getting there. I want to give everyone some quick dynasty fades, and then we will finish tonight with the 2-minute drill. Dynasty fades. Look, selling aging wide receivers as a solo trade, guys, is a bad move. Everyone knows what you're doing. You're just trying to get younger, right? You're trying to capitalize on, I just need some picks, right? So you're just not going to get the return you want. I want you to please package aging wide receivers with picks or as part of a larger trade package, because here are 5 names that still can look in certain circles, can look attractive, but are fading. Terry McLaurin, Deebo Samuel, who is the weakest of the names on this list, DK Metcalf, A.J. Brown, and Cortland Sutton, right? If you are a win now team, Kendall and I would always say, go get a late second or an early third. These guys can't be bought for an early third, but go get a late second, grab someone that can finish inside the top 36 and just, ride it out and go get yourself a championship. I would not buy these 5 names. I would go buy Devontae Adams for a late second for one more season if I'm a contending team, because he's done nothing the last 2 years except lead the NFL in touchdowns. These guys have not. So I really believe fading aging wide receivers in bad situations. Not every aging wide receiver, because I just told you to buy Devontae Adams, who's older than all of these players. So you have to find the right aging wide receiver in the right situation. Devontae Adams, to me, fits that bill. I see the stock arrow, as a downward red trend with McLaurin, Samuel, Metcalf, A.J. Brown, and Sutton. Kendall, let's introduce some technology to the show and pull up the old 2-minute timer for the 2-minute drill tonight.
Should we do that? Let's
Tonight's 2-minute drill is presented by onlinestopwatchclock.com.
Yeah. No free ads, but this is free.
This one's free, so they get the shout out. 3, 2, 1, hit that green button, brother. Tonight's tight end dynasty buy is none other than Jake Ferguson. He finished the year as the tight end 5 on 102 targets. He is 3rd on the team, but let me give you the counter argument to what Kendall said earlier. What if Pickens doesn't get franchise tagged or re-signed and he does leave? Sure, he's likely to get tagged. Most likely he'll get signed, but he was already there this season. And Ferg was still the tight end 5 on 600 yards and 8 touchdowns. And that's what I want you to remember, is those 8 touchdowns. This is a player who won't hurt you, but he can definitely post double-digit points on a weekly basis when other tight ends are boom bust. Let me give you some consistency metrics, because we're shooting for the moon here, and Ferguson isn't going to finish as the overall tight end 1. But if you don't have that player, consistency and volume can be key. 9 times this season, he finished as a top 12 tight end. 7 of those weeks, he was top 10. 5 of those weeks, he was top 5. 4 weeks, he was a, quote, bust. But one of those weeks when he busted was week 18, and we don't care about week 18 in fantasy football. Go trade for Jake Ferguson. I don't have a tight end sell this week, because you just can't sell anyone, because the good guys you don't want to sell and the other ones can't be sold because nobody else wants them. So let me give you a very, very cheap dynasty tight end buy 2.0. Colby Parkinson. He's incredibly cheap. He has 1 year remaining on his contract. He's tight end 17, which isn't good at all. But here's what I like. I just said it about Jake Ferguson. 8 touchdowns for Colby Parkinson this season. 8. I didn't know that until I did my research in preparation for this show, because it didn't feel that way. He was tied for the 4th most tight end touchdowns out of all the tight ends this season. He will cost you nothing. The Rams are going to run it back with everyone. And as a tight end 2, bye week, injury week fill-in, there are worse players to have. Go trade for nothing and grab yourself Colby Parkinson. That was tonight's 2-minute drill presented by OnlineStopWatchClock.com.
Yeah. Man, I cannot wait for the inbox to be exploded by all the reps from OnlineView.com. This is gonna be a fun one. I'm gonna enjoy this.
I said we were ending at 60 tonight, and we are. Otherwise, Kendall, I think you and I might have had to find one of the leagues that we're in together, which is a lot, but I think we would have had to find one where you have Jake Ferguson, and I think we might have had to find a trade there. But
I got him a lot. Historically, I give you your favorite tight end, and I gave you a very, very nice deal. Again, I cannot win a trade with him anytime. One day it will happen, but I realized I went back in the time machine, and I'm like, I gave him Ferguson for Anthony Richardson.
Yeah, that was a bad one.
It was
the good news is we've got plenty of time before the season, so I imagine we'll have plenty of trades.
Heck yeah, man!
Out, so. We will be back I will be back in March. Kendall will be here all of February. I am off on a long, well-deserved, very enjoyable, fun vacation that I have coming up. I'm very excited about.
Ciao.
Yes, exactly. Ciao. But in March, Kendall and I will be back, and March is rookie season, boys and girls. We will be breaking down over a 4-week period all of the rookies by position on a weekly basis, running a quarterback, running back, wide receiver, and tight end. We will mix in at least one, if not two, live mock drafts for rookies only, different formats as we always do. If you want to get in on that, you know how to reach us. If you'd like to be part of those mock drafts in March, just DM us and we will do our very best to get you involved. Dynasty season is always happening. And for those who are into the game, good luck to the Seahawks and Patriots fan. For those who are neutral, enjoy the game. This has been another episode of The Extra Point. So for everybody here at Get Right Fantasy Network, we appreciate you being here. Hit that like and subscribe button. We out.
Fantasy is the play. Marking often, but I tune in every Friday. Strategies provided, I will lock in every way. So go and roll your sleeves.